Fortnite have just released a blog covering everything to do with FNCS in 2024, and I've not read it yet, so it's time to learn about it together. A new year means a new start for Fortnite competitive top players. The Fortnite Championship Series FNCS returns for 2024 with a $7.675 million prize pool and 3 majors, culminating in an in-person showdown at the Global Championships 2024. So awesome. So there is going to be a Global Championships this year. However, I will state that $7.67 million prize pool is a reduction of almost $2.3 million. Because it was 10 last year, so a little bit reduced overall. So not the hottest start, but very, very happy to hear that we're at least getting something announced the whole time. Duos format's here to stay, which we did actually already know at this point as well. However, we made some small changes to this year's tournament structure. So whether you're turning competitor, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they're returning. So interesting, a big change is that there's no last chance major this year. Last year, there was essentially the 3 main majors, and then there was the last chance major after it, which filled some of the slots, which means now basically you have to qualify in one of either this season, next season, or the one after that. So there basically will be no FNCS at all in that kind of final season. Okay, so the format essentially ends up being 5 weeks total, 2 weeks of qualifiers, a bye week. So there's a break in the middle of it for whatever reason, for this season's FNCS that is, or for every major structure, sorry. 3 days of semifinals and then 2 days of grand finals after that. So each major takes 5 weeks overall, which is interesting. So basically that means you only have 2 weeks to actually make sure you play well enough in Open Qualifier 1 and the Qualifier 2. So each week is individually even more important now. And it says right here, the format of each major is the same regardless of what you're competing in. So this is same structure. Basically, there's going to be 2 qualifiers for all 3 majors of this year. I'm not sure how I feel about that. We'll have to see. So because that really does depend a lot on how well you place in Qualifier 1 or Qualifier 2. If you don't place that well in Qualifier 1, it might be very difficult to make it through to the semifinals. Of course, depending on like how many specific weeks that we have. Interesting though. Okay, now this is something, a massive change is how the actual the qualifier rounds work altogether. So as you'll be able to see in the first 2 weeks, so the qualifiers here, round 1, 2, 3, 4, which is relatively similar. So in order to get into round 1, you have to come in platinum 1 or above in ranked mode. Very difficult. Then to get to round 2, it's top 2,000 teams. Then it only goes down to top 1,000, and round 4 is only the top 250 teams. So there's actually no set lobbies in the qualifiers. So essentially that means there's going to be 5 lobbies going on all at the exact same time. So essentially that kind of final round, that's going to be very, very interesting, the way that this is actually laid out here. Big difference for the first 2 weeks. So I guess basically based on those first 2 qualifiers, you essentially just need to get into that top 250 and you'll get series points essentially for those 2 weeks. So your skill level and how well you play basically in the first 2 weeks is going to be really massive. It also here is slightly different if you're an OCE, Asia, Middle Eastern Battle, or a Battle Royale for BR, or Brazil. It's only 3 rounds, whereas for the open qualifiers, that's actually 4 for bigger regions. Sorry, I'm being a drone. Semifinals. So the semifinals. Now, how does this work? Oh my god, this is long. Okay, semifinals seems really different as well. Let me read this and then I'll look at the image. Okay, I think I've understood semifinals. So for the first 2 weeks of qualifiers you have there, again, the last round in the qualifiers is top 250. Basically, you get series points from there. From those series points, it says that the top 50 will advance to right here, which will be upper bracket round 1. And then 51st to 250th will go to lower round 1. Sorry, the top 50 teams go to upper bracket. And then the 51st to 250 go down to the lower bracket. This lower bracket is still kind of like a open round. It's just 10 games that you all have to play. Whereas this is a set lobby up above with just one game running at once, which I guess the broadcast will watch this. Okay, I had to check again. So top 5, so all game wins go through to grand finals. 6th to 25th then moves to the upper round 2, which is down here, and the rest goes to lower round 2, I think. This lower round, basically, if you come in the bottom percentage, I'm not going to get the exact numbers there, you're going to just drop out of FNCS completely. So if you do really bad in this lower round, you just are completely out. However, if you come into the top small percentage amounts, you'll go into the upper round of the next one, where you have the opportunity to win a game, and so on and so forth. Then this last upper and lower round, basically the top 20 is 3 matches. That's only 3 matches. I don't know if that's actually correct or not, but you basically have to come in the top 25 in the upper round to go grand finals. And the bottom 15 in this. Kind of, that's very confusing to try and explain. I'll need to maybe make like a different graphic to post on Twitter so you can see, because it's highly confusing. But essentially, upper round 1, upper round 2, win a game. Down here, top 25, and then top 15th. If you play really badly, you're kicked out. That seems to be the full summary. And then grand finals, 50 teams, as we've just said from here. And it's also a 2-day format, which is really important because the Grand Royale, not Grand Royale, sorry, the FNCS Global Championships was only a 1-day format. So it seems like they may be leaning more towards a 2-day format again, which hopefully is still the case for the Global Championships. Okay, so semis is really, really confusing, but ooh, big change here. Right, let me just read out what I've just read to you. The grand finals of each major would take place across 2 days, which is amazing, like I just mentioned. When competitors complete up to 6 matches in a 3-hour window, Saturday and Sunday, blah, 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 blah. Whether you advance the Global Championships is based on the cumulative points you earn for both days, as always is, combined. 1.5 times points for eliminations and placements are up for grab on the second day. Firstly, that's very interesting in the way that it's like, we had that at Grand Royale 2021, double points in the second day. Super interesting. It made the games way more fun to watch. It's not the most competitive format by any means. Ask Queasy, who probably, I think, lost because of that. However, at the same time, it's really interesting to watch, and a 2-day format can slog on if that's not there. So I think that's going to be interesting. But also doesn't say island points or forecast tower points. Like mid-game objective points are not doubled on the next day, which is interesting, which means they're a little bit less valuable, but just playing well on that second day is more preferred. While the structure for each grand final is the same across 3 majors, qualification slots. Okay, so qualification slots to the Global Championships. In Major 1, first, second, first to first to fifth. Interesting, okay. So how many slots is that total? Let me do the maths quickly here. Interesting. Okay, so sorry, well, I don't know why I'm apologizing. I cut that bit of the recording. But essentially, what that means is now EU is going to have... So I just did the math, sorry, yeah. It's now 50 teams total, so they're not 75 like it was in 2023, which means there's not going to be like the upper-lower bracket when it's in the FNCS Global Championships. And these are the splits of the teams in the Globals. So 17 teams from EU, 14 from NA, 555 from Brazil, Asia, OCE, and then 4 from Middle East. Interesting that Middle East is now smaller than OCE, as historically OCE has always been the smallest. So cool. That means that now we're going to have in the grand finals of Global Championships a little bit more of an international tournament, because a lot of the smaller, worst teams ended up kind of getting kicked out because of the heats format. But now we're going to see more Asia, OCE, and Middle East teams actually in the final. Well, we saw Asia teams a lot, but that's super cool. We have a schedule. Oh my god. Holy, we actually have a schedule for all of the seasons. That's kind of crazy. So I was not expecting this for all of the majors, but essentially first is going to be on... Anyway, time zones. Yeah, so grand final, let me see what's important. January 26th, so next weekend, essentially. 27th, 28th. These two are only ones of the same round, so that's going to be a packed day. I'm glad they're spreading it out over 3 days still. Same here. 3 days, and then 24th to 25th. Awesome. Here's the dates for major number 2. You can see that on screen if you want to go on holiday. And here's the dates for major number 3, which will be in June and July as well. Fortnite broadcast, they're back. That seems to be it. And community cups are going to be back. Also, of course, prize pools. How could I forget? Something important. If you make it to grand finals, it's $1,000 total, so $500 each. In EU, this is, of course, 170k for first. So that's down from 200? I can't remember exactly what it was. But if you make it to finals and you come last, you basically still get 500. 140k for first in NA. Brazil is 20k for first. $200 for the bottom half. My goodness. Asia is 20k. Is that the same prize pool for each one of these? Asia, Middle East, and OCE smaller. Interesting that OCE has a smaller prize pool, despite the fact that it has more qualification slots to the Global Championships, which I don't necessarily understand. The prize pool for EU is actually only changed in the top 30k. So the price for winning has been reduced by 30k for EU. NA has gone down. Yeah, NA's prize pool has actually increased outside of first place, I think. I need to check total. Brazil's has been reduced pretty heavily. Asia's has been reduced. Middle East seems to have stayed the same. No, slightly reduced. And like, maybe it's just redistributed, but it's pretty close. And OCE's has also stayed the same. Interesting. I also missed an absolutely massive part of that blog where it just says Siphon will not be enabled for FNCS in 2024. Why? Why not? That's annoying. That's the worst news of all time. Anyway. So big changes this year, it would seem like, in particular with qualification to the Global Championships. Really pleased they ended up putting out an entire blog. And the new format, I've not been on Twitter yet, but I'm sure a lot of people will probably complain about the fact that there's no set lobbies and only 2 qualifiers. But we'll need to see if it actually ends up being good. Hope this is useful. Yeah, that's it. Peace. Bye.